Hi everyone, I'm John Lin. I'm the product manager in IEI. So today I'm going to introduce about PulZe IN001 and the PulZe IN002. Okay. Last week I talked about the concept, the application, and the roadmap of PulZe series. So today I want to show you more about PulZe IN001 and IN002. So in the slide you can see there are two machines here. The top side is IN002 and the bottom side is IN001. Okay. So before we talk about the machine, talk about our PulZe IN001 and IN002, I want to show you about the processor, the information about processor. So you can see this slide. Okay, we get more performance from the CPU from like Gen 4 and from the Gen 7. So the big performance between the Gen 4 and Gen 8, we increased 137%. The performance between Gen 7 and Gen 8, we increased the performance about 10%. So this is about performance. But for the thread or the core, the numbers are increased either too. The numbers are increased too. For example, like you can see the red mark for Xeon E. Okay, you can see the top side is this one is Coffee Lake CPU, and then this here are Kaby Lake Gen 7 CPU. For the Xeon E, the core number are 6, but for the Xeon E3 Kaby Lake CPU, this core number is only 4. So the core number is increased from 4 to 6. Okay, this is for the Xeon E. But the most different is between Gen 8 Core i3 and Gen 7 Core i3. So you can see the numbers here. Gen 8 Core i3, the core numbers are 4. But for the Gen 7, the core numbers is only 2. So this is a big advantage between the Gen 7 and the Gen 8. So our PulZe IN001 and the IN002, we use this Core i3 A100T, this is CPU, in these two models. Okay, let's talk about the PulZe IN001. Here is the features and the outworking of PulZe IN001. The major functions we can IN001 can support 8 ports of 1 GB Ethernet and 2 network modules here and 2 standard PCIe. Okay, this slide shows about the system block diagram of PulZe IN001. Okay, from the CPU we can support standard PCIe. Okay, here we can support standard PCIe, and we can support network module with the PCIe by 8 signal. Here. And we can support dual channel DDR4, support ECC and non-ECC. And from the chipset side, we support 8 ports of 1 GB Ethernet. And PCIe signal for the mini PCIe M.2 and 2 standard 2.5-inch SSD. And we also support LCM here. Okay, this is the motherboard of PulZe IN001. You can see the dimension of the motherboards. This is DDR4 slot here, and LGA CPU socket for Caption GPU. And we also support standard mini PCIe with the SIM card slot. Alright. This is the system. Okay. Whole system, you can see the yellow part. The yellow part. This is redundant power. We can support 300 watt redundant power. Okay, and CPU fan, system fan, and the standard mini PCIe. Standard PCIe. We can support 2 standard PCIe and then 2 network module here. Okay, this slide shows we can support 2 network module. First, we can support A slot. This A slot signal is from CPU. The signal is PCIe by A signal, and we can configure the PCIe signal like by 1/8 or 2/4. 1/8 and 2/4. So we design 2 kind of network module card for this 2 configuration. This is very special. And for the slot B, the signal is from chipset. The signal is from chipset, and then support 2/4 signal, 2/4 PCIe, and this 2/4 PCIe, standard PCIe, we can configure like as 4/2 signal. So we will also design several network module card for this 2 configuration. Okay. So in this slide you can see the slot A, we have 3 network module card here. It's Mellux and Intel. And the B slot we can support Intel network module card, Broadcom network module card, or Aquantia network module card. Okay. This slide shows our IEI PulM network modules. We can support 25G, 10G, and 1G. Okay, you can see Mellux here. There's a 25G and 10G network module. Aquantia is a network module. We can support 4 RJ45 10G Ethernet here. This is very special design. And Intel, of course, we also design Intel network module cards. For the 1G, we have Intel and Broadcom solutions. And IN001 also support 2 standard PCIe, and these 2 standard PCIe, one is by 8 signal, and the other one is by 4 signal. So we can insert different kind of ADAM card in these 2 slots. So you can see this slide, we can insert like a QNAP a storage card. Okay, this is a storage card, and PoE card, FPGA card, VPU card, GPU card, and we also can insert like a smart NIC for high speed or offload function of the system. This is the outlooking of PulZe IN001. So as you can see, there are 2 network module slots here, slot A and slot B. Okay, and we can support 8-port 1G Ethernet. Some indicator for power status and hard disk storage status alert. This alert can be configurable. And we also have LCM modules. In the backside of the system, you can see there are 2 redundant modules here. Okay, switch, antenna hole. This antenna, we can use this for Wi-Fi, 3G, 4G functions. And 2 PCI expansion slot here. Okay, this is the dimension. PUZZle IN001 is standard rack mount 1U design, and the depth is 4 to 6 millimeter. 4 to 6 millimeter. Okay. This slide shows the order information. There are 4 models we provide. The first 2 models are with CPU, memory, SSD, and the pre-installed Ubuntu systems. So customer or developer, they can get these 2 systems and just unbox, plug in, and then they can start to their design. Yeah. And the model 3 and 4. These 2 models only pre-install CPU. There is no memory or SSD inside. So customer, you can buy the memory or SSD by your own self and install in the system. Okay. This is PUZZle IN001. And the next is PUZZle IN002. We can say PUZZle IN001 is a performance system, high performance system. But for the PUZZle IN002, this one is an entry level system. As you can see, there is no network module slot here, and it only can support 6 ports of 1G Ethernet. Okay. Then let's see the block diagram of IN002. From the CPU, there's only one PCIe by 16 signal for the standard PCI card. So it means this system only can support 1 expansion card, standard mini PCIe card. And for the memory support, it can only support non-ECC memory. But for the IN001, it can support ECC and non-ECC memory. Okay. For the Ethernet, it can support 6 ports. Only can support 6 ports. Yeah, and of course, it can support mini PCIe M.2 expansion, LCM here, and 2 SSD. Okay, this is the dimension of the IN002 system motherboard. Here are memories. This one is CPU socket, and 2 small cards, so M.2 card and a mini PCI card. Mini PCI card is also with a SIM card slot, so you can also get the 3G or 4G function with a SIM card slot. Okay, this is a whole system. The pink, you can see the pink mark here. This is a standard flex ATX power, 250 watt. And left hand side, you can see here, this is a standard PCIe by 16. Okay, and here see CPU, memory, and SSD. It can support 2 pieces of 2.5 SSD, LCM. Okay. Here. Okay. PulZe IN002 can support one standard PCIe by 16 core. So just like PulZe IN001, it can support different kind of ADAM cores. Here. CPU core, GPU core, FPGA core. Yeah. And we can also support like high-speed Ethernet card. So this is the outlooking of PulZe IN002. It also support like indicators, LCM, console port, USB 3.0, and the 6 port of 1G Ethernet. Yeah. And for the power supply, this power supply is 250 watts, and here is a power switch, antenna. This system also can support antenna, and here is for the standard PCIe slot. This slide shows the dimension of PulZe IN002. So just like IN001, this one is also a standard rack mount 1U system. But the depth of PulZe IN002 is 321 millimeter. Okay. This is the other information of PulZe IN002. As I mentioned, Core i3 is very important in this generation. So we have Intel Core i3 A100T, this CPU in this system, and the other CPU is G5400T. This is Pantone Gold. Okay, this one is also a very high value of a CPU. Yeah. And as just like also IN001, we can the first two modules can support CPU, pre-installed CPU, memory, and the SSD. Okay, and the other two models only pre-installed CPU. And now I want to give you a demonstration of PulZe IN001 and IN002. Okay, this is our PulZe IN001 here. This is redundant power. Okay, we can pull out the modules. If there's something wrong, we can change the modules. Okay, and this is our storage 2.5 SSD here, and you can see there's no cables for the storage because we want to increase the stability of the storage. So we create a small card between the SSD and the motherboard. Okay. Okay. Here is our CPU here, and there are 3 fans for the CPU cooling, and there are 2 memories, DDR4. It can support ECC and non-ECC. Okay, and we have IEI network module here. This one is 25G card, and we can open this, and then we can insert the module card here. Yeah. So it is very easy to increase or to add the function, to add the network functions. So for the standard PCIe slot, we design module here. Okay, I already insert our FPGA card here. This is a 2-slot white. So then you can see here, this is a by 16 slot, but the signal is only by 8. Okay, another slot is by 4 slot. Okay. Yeah. So this is PulZe IN001. PulZe IN001. And the next I want to show you is PulZe IN002. PulZe IN002. Yeah. So here is the standard flex ATX power. It can support 250 watt. 250 watt. Okay, there are 3 fans for CPU cooling, and 2 memories to support DDR4 or DDR4. And for the storage design, same design with PulZe IN001. We use a daughter card between the SSD and the motherboard. So there's no cables. There's no cable between storage and the motherboard. So it can increase this stability of our storage. Okay, and here is our standard PCIe. Of course, it can support 2-slot white PCIe card, and here 2-slot white. But now we just only insert the 1 slot, and it can support HDMI output. So we can use this cable here. Okay, and we can have a standard HDMI output here. So in the front side, we can also see the LCM here. There are buttons to control the LCM, and the 6 ports of 1G Ethernet, USB 3.0, and the console port. Yeah. Okay, this is all of my presentation and the demonstration of PulZe IN001 and the IN002. If you have any question, please scan the QR code and contact us. We will answer you as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Thank you.